What's up, fans? Welcome to another edition of Just Winging It. This is episode number 7 already of the summer, or of the quarantine, if you will, which means we are now somehow 7 weeks into this thing. And we are happy to be joined by the assistant coach of your Kalamazoo Wings, obviously former goaltender as well, Joel Martin. It's been a long time coming. We've been meaning to get you on an earlier show, but we appreciate you taking some time.
Thanks, JP. Like I said, big fan of the show, so enjoy watching the guests you've had so far. Some tough acts to follow.
How are you holding up? What do you miss the most about regular life?
I guess the thing I miss the most is not painting my living room. So I'm pretty deep in that project right now. So yeah, a lot of housework getting done. So that's good, but it's a lot of work.
I saw Carrie's comment when we shared that you were going to be our guest, your wife, Carrie, and she said, I'm just excited to hear his voice. So I got to ask, are you just that quiet around the house? I know you're kind of a quiet guy to begin with, but you guys not talk to each other during the 7 weeks of quarantine?
Well, JP, I listen a lot. So I do the talking and I listen. You should try it out at home. But no, she's always been the talker of the family, that's for sure. So I kind of let her take over a lot of the times.
I feel like your Carrie and my Carrie are in the same boat in that regard. We're the listeners.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we're doing is listening.
Mine's just excited. Sometimes she doesn't have to see me or hear me because I'm down at the other end of the house, down in the man cave. So it's a break, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
You've had a chance to get some quality time, I'm assuming, with the boys. How are Louie and Tom doing?
They're doing well. So obviously some days are better than others, for sure. But they're doing good. They enjoy spending time at home, especially Louie. Tommy kind of misses school a little bit more, I think. But all in all, we can't complain. They're doing well. And, sometimes they get a little stir crazy here at home, but we all do.
Have you guys picked out a favorite activity with the boys that they really like? I saw the video the other day of you guys playing hockey in the driveway. That looked like a good time.
Yeah, so that's a big one. A lot of basement hockey, a lot of hockey in the driveway. I try to get them out too and do some hiking. There's some good trails around here, Asylum Lake and stuff like that. So I had them up to doing 2.5 miles here at one point, but they've shied away a little bit from it. Maybe I pushed them too hard for a minute, and now they're not so excited with the hiking anymore.
I saw Tommy with the goalie out there on the driveway. Is he going to follow in his dad's footsteps? That was a question that came in from Deb. He wants to know if the boys are going to follow in your footsteps.
Well, I hope not, but that's something that's pretty new, actually. Him putting on the pads. He actually doesn't like playing hockey as much as his older brother does. And I don't know if it's because he has trouble keeping up a little bit. And so now he started strapping on the pads, and his big brother, for the most part, is pretty nice, and I'll hit him with a few pucks here and there or tennis balls, and I do the same. So maybe that's why he's enjoying it, and maybe that's the wrong way to approach it. If I don't want him in the net, maybe we should be ripping pucks at his head and scoring more goals, but trying to let him have some fun.
We're here with Joel Martin on episode 7 of Just Winging It. We've got another question that came in from a fan. This is from little Ollie, 4-year-old, who's a big fan of the goalies. I know he's a big fan of yours and a big fan of Jake Hildebrand. He wants to know, what'd you think of your bobblehead nights when we did the Joel Martin bobblehead on the alumni night?
Oh man, that was really cool. A big honor, to be that person. They chose to do that as well. The organization thought they did a fantastic job on the bobblehead. The gear was spot on, and the head was pretty good, and I can't complain. I thought it was awesome.
Mitchell wants to know, so this was before my time, before I got here, obviously. This was back when you guys won the UHL championship, when you and Booter were teammates. I guess you guys had a big rivalry with Rockford that year, and apparently there was some sort of cheap shot. What was the story behind that?
I may have taken a dive there. Divulge that now, but yeah, no, they one of their players skated by at the end of the period and barely touched me, and I went down like this potatoes, and they all knew. And yeah, so I actually regretted doing it because then they were all over me even more the next game. So that was something I think I learned from actually by going through that and doing that. I learned that that's not always the best approach, because then they were, kind of on top of me twice as bad as they were before. So.
You got the last laugh though, obviously, and you guys won the championship. I gotta say, speaking of diving, have you been watching any soccer with McFadden or?
No, I haven't been watching any soccer.
That was a low blow.
No, that one felt good though, because they'd knocked us out the year before, and we were a higher seed. So we had a pretty good rivalry with them going for a couple of years, and obviously the next year, then they ended up beating the K-Wings in the finals in 7 games. So it was a good rivalry with them for a while.
I'm sensing a common theme, a common theme among the fans that obviously fans love goalies. That's usually their favorite position they gravitate towards. And fans also love fighting. I don't think that's ever going to get out of the game. So you know where I'm going with this. You had a few goalie fights in your career, and a couple guys asked about it. Ben wanted to know if you've ever been in one. I think we all know the answer to that. And Caleb asked, what's going through your head when you know you have to do it and you start skating down the ice at the other goalie?
Yeah, not something I like to do at all. So when those moments came, going through the head, was a little bit of panic, I think, initially, and trying to protect yourself and maybe try to get a couple punches in here and there. The last couple goalie fights I was in, one was this morning with my little guy, and the other one was yesterday in the driveway hockey with my little guy. So maybe he'll be a fighter and a goalie. But I didn't really like doing the fighting at all, so I tried to stay away from it because I wasn't very good at it.
Let's relive one of the moments we've talked about this year, just because I was working for a different team, and all I saw were the highlights and Joe Roberts' voice when Eric Catalyst moonwalked in Kansas City after scoring the goal, which was, I think, one of the coolest celebrations. But obviously, they didn't like it too much. The next day, you were put into a tough spot. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I remember we had an emergency backup on the bench as well. So anyway, we knew something might happen, and one of their players had grabbed Ketsy, and he clearly didn't want to fight and shouldn't have had to fight the player that was trying to fight him. And so I just went in and bear hugged that player. And the second that happened, all hell broke loose. And I remember looking up and their goalie's flying down, and Mitch had worked with that goalie a little bit, being with Stockton, and said that he loves that stuff, and he's a. And so anyway, that goalie's flying down the ice, and Ketsy goes, "Marty, goalie's coming." I'm like, "Yeah, I see him," but I didn't want to fight because we had Nebug on the bench at the time, and I remember that goalie wasn't going to give me a choice. And the worst part about the whole thing was my glove was strapped on tight, and I didn't drop him because I didn't want to fight. Then I couldn't get my glove off, so I'm trying to pull it on his shoulder to get my glove off for half the fight, trying to dodge all of his punches. Yeah, then after that whole melee, having to stay in the game somehow, I think Booter talked to the ref, and they had our captain over there, and I'll never forget the e-bug on the bench. I guess the guys he was sitting next to said, "Hey, I'm sorry for what's about to happen," because he thought he was. So anyway, I ended up having to stay in, and we ended up losing the game. So it was even worse. I got beat up, and then we lost the game on top of it. So that was a
On the Catalyst note for a second, because I've been thinking this for a long time, and we'll get into you as a coach a little bit later on, but you played with Catalyst, you played with Justin Taylor, you played with Ben Wilson as teammates for a number of years. All of a sudden you go to the bench side and you're coaching those players. Is that weird? Is that an adjustment, knowing that you guys were teammates and buddies, and now you're kind of in an authoritative role?
Yeah, it's a little bit different for sure, but they're all professionals and guys that have been around for a long time too. So I think even if I hadn't played with them, you're going into a position as a younger coach, I guess, and you have these veteran players that have been around for a long time that maybe, are you telling them what to do or whatever is a little bit different. So it's actually nice having that relationship with those guys, and they show me a lot of respect when I am trying to tell them stuff, and we have those conversations. So it is a bit of a blessing actually as well.
You obviously have the wins record for the K-Wings team history, a great career here and even beyond Kalamazoo. But I think maybe your biggest accomplishment was the highly anticipated release of your Wrecking Ball music video a few years back, and we watched it on the bus one of those long trips, and I don't think you were even prepared for us to turn it on YouTube. But Scott wants to know what that was like to film and what was going through your mind. I think the most iconic image in sports history might be you riding that goalie stick across the ice.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking actually now that I think about it. But I don't know, just acting and kind of drama and stuff like that I've always enjoyed doing since I was a kid. My favorite class was drama class. So when it comes to something like that or the movie cameos we were doing this year, it's something that I always have fun participating in and, just kind of having fun, I guess.
It all makes sense now. I didn't know that was an interest of yours growing up. That Dumb and Dumber impression, by the way, of Lloyd Christmas was the best I've ever seen, and that's my favorite movie of all time. So there was a reason you and Mitch were the #1 on that top 10 list. Can we get just put you on the spot? Can we get one more Lloyd Christmas impression or no?
Man, I don't know. I'll try to think of one as we move along here. I don't even know where.
All right. Because I'm thinking ahead here. I mean, there's some potential with your acting abilities. Like, is there a future as a movie star if the coaching thing doesn't work out?
I don't think I have the looks for the acting career, so I'd say no, probably not a chance.
So we got another fan question here, and we've had some good times on the road as a staff. Obviously, in every city, we've got a favorite restaurant or a favorite place to go, or sometimes we just like to mix it up. And Michael wants to know what your favorite place to eat is on the road. Can you narrow it down to maybe one go-to spot?
Man, there's so many. I guess I'll just go with Tom and Chi though in Cincinnati. They have that. What is it, grilled cheese donut or whatever is their famous thing. So I'm a sucker for one of those, that's for sure. And their grilled cheese sandwich with mac and cheese on it as well is pretty fantastic.
I can't argue with that. I don't think I tried the donut, but you were the first one on the staff to give it a whirl, and your impression was that it was one of the best decisions you made. Was eating that donut. A spot I thought of was late in the season when we went to Indy and we picked out that random sushi spot, and there wasn't a single person in the restaurant, I felt like, the first time. And all of us, except for Mitch, because he had something else going on, I think, that night, but all of us loved it, so we had to go back the next time we were in Indy. But I can't remember the name of that roll. That was their famous roll that we all ordered.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it either, but yeah, that's never a good sign walking into a sushi restaurant when there's no one else in there. But
yeah.
It ended up being so good, we kept going back. So yeah, that place is fantastic, and I think we have a crew too that anytime sushi's thrown out there, everybody's on board. So yeah, we all have a pretty similar taste in food. Actually, I really enjoy that.
Speaking of food, Shaky has a question. He likes to chime in. I think the last 3 or 4 episodes, he's had a good one. So Shaky wants to know what kind of milkshake from Five Guys or from BurgerFi is your favorite?
Five Guys for sure. Yeah, but Shaky, man. I thought maybe my nickname should be Shaky because I had way more milkshakes than that guy.
I like the Neapolitan shake at or what's the place in Allen? In-N-Out Burger. Did you ever get one of those?
No, I never did. I am a fan of the Cold Stone milkshakes as well. That's usually my go-to there. So.
Oh, yeah. Another question that's beverage related. Somebody wants to know, are you a fan of Canadian or American beer? Which one do you prefer?
Well, American beer is way cheaper, so we'll go with American beer 100%.
Miller lattes?
Yeah, I could do some Miller lattes. That's good. I don't mind the craft stuff as well, but yeah, it's all good.
All right, so back to some hockey stuff. Tracy wants to know, when you're on the bench now, second year as a coach, and the game's just not going our way, do you ever have that urge that you want to get back out there and compete and get between the pipes?
Yeah, no, not one bit. Because when the game's not going well and I was playing, and I was on the bench, I didn't want to go in. So now I can only imagine how out of control the game would get if I was in that. Yeah, that wouldn't be a pretty sight, I don't think.
I've heard this about former goalies that when you retire, you don't really have the urge to ever put the pads on again. Is there any truth to that? That the goalies would, if they're going to play men's league, they want to skate out as a forward or a defenseman, and why is that?
Yeah, that's 100% true. And I don't even own any of my goalie gear anymore other than my helmets. But I don't know. I think that when you're good at something and then you're not good at it, it's not very fun to do anymore. And then it's just something new. I always loved playing out. I just wasn't very good at it. So it's fun to be able to go out there and play some shinny. And I do it in Kalamazoo from time to time as well, and have a ton of fun doing it.
Here with Joel Martin, episode 7 of Just Winging It. How hard of a decision was it to finally hang up the skates? And do you enjoy coaching more or when you were a player?
It was tough, but I kind of was at the point where I didn't have a choice. My body was hurting too much, and I couldn't train. Had trouble going on the ice every day, practice, games. Really took a toll on my back, and so I didn't really have a choice. So I do really enjoy the coaching. I don't enjoy it more than playing, but I think it's the next best thing to playing for sure. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm blessed to still be in the game of hockey and working with all these fine athletes and some awesome coaches as well.
That last question came from Corey. Nick wants to know with the big story in the NHL this year was when the Toronto Marlies Zamboni driver suited up for the Carolina Hurricanes and played against the Maple Leafs and won. Leading into his question, are you the unofficial e-bug of the Kalamazoo Wings now that you're a coach, or does that go to a different staff member?
Yeah, I don't even think that's allowed, actually. So no, I'm not. And I think that Mitch might be the unofficial e-bug because he strapped on the pads one time this year when we needed a goalie, and I haven't done that in the past 2 years. I haven't even done it once. So I think Mitch takes the title there, and I'd gladly let him hop in the net in my place, that's for sure.
As a coach, this question comes from Cameron. What are you looking for during a game? Are you just kind of focused on the other team's trends and stuff that you saw on video, or more tweaks that you guys have to make in game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. It's are they doing what we said they're going to do in certain situations, and if they are, is what we're doing working? And then if they make an adjustment, what kind of adjustment do we need to make? So that, and then your own players too, and especially on the back end. How are we as a decor? Are we making right reads at the blue line? How are we breaking out the puck right now? Stuff like that. So there's a ton going on, really. You're watching a ton of stuff, a lot of information for sure.
Have you found a way to stay warm yet?
No, not at all. I need to invest in some sweaters, but those aren't free, so I haven't invested in any. But yeah, I don't know. I might just start wearing a big coat on the bench or something, but I can't get over it. But I had the same problem when I played. I used to put the heating pads on my feet in between periods because my toes would freeze. So I think it's something I'm going to deal with for a long time.
I know you guys have been doing a lot of analytics during the off season so far as a staff, and looking at a lot of old games and what some of our opponents do and some trends and all that stuff. You're constantly working. What's the recruiting process been like? Has that even really started, given everything going on and kind of the uncertainty?
Yeah, we gave it a little bit of time there, kind of see where things go and give guys time to decompress and whatnot from their seasons ending abruptly as well. But we're pretty much full swing in that recruiting part. But at the same time, we're not at a point where players are committal, want to commit at all. So that's tough, but it's just opening those lines of communication and letting guys know you're interested in them and try to let them know what Kalamazoo has to offer and we have to offer, and hopefully get them interested when they are ready to make decisions, and hopefully Kalamazoo sticks out in their mind when that time does come. Yeah, so that's pretty much full swing. A lot of webinars, the NHLCA, our Coaches Association, does a mentorship program where they have a bunch of coaches talking. So we're all as a staff watching those videos and learning a ton from those as well. And sometimes it's crazy the stuff we're talking about and have questions about what we're thinking about changing. And we'll watch the guy the next day and he talks about some of those issues. So that's pretty cool. And then we have a couple groups of different coaches that have little meetings on Zoom as well. So a group of like 12 guys with one, and the other one was around 10 guys. And one group is once a week and the others once every 2 weeks. So just learning from other coaches at different levels as well, from Canadian college to guys that coached or played in the National Hockey League. So it's all good stuff and a great time for us to learn.
You and Booter have maybe the most unique coaching relationship I think out there. And I don't know that anybody has gone through the different roles that you guys have had with each other throughout the year. For example, you were teammates on the ice, won that championship as players. Then you played for him when he was head coach. Now you coach together. I don't know if there's another example of that in hockey. I'd have to do some digging, but what have you learned from Booter in the 2 years you guys have coached together?
Oh man. He's a great mentor, and really I've learned so much, and not just how to coach and the things about the game of hockey, but just things in life as well, as a father, as a husband, how to conduct your business, things like that. It's taught me so much about just our league and recruiting and everything. So the list is too long, but he's really good at it, and he's really good at teaching. He was really good at as a coach, teaching players, and that's one thing I love playing for him. And then I didn't know how much I would learn switching roles and getting into coaching with him as well. But there's so much information when you get to be a coach. And yeah, it blows my mind sometimes, some of the things I'm learning, and I'll have an idea and it'll be like, well, we might want to handle this situation this way. And you're like, oh, yeah, no, that makes way more sense. And that's why you've been doing this for 13 years, So it's awesome. I'm extremely fortunate to coach with someone who cares as much as he does and gives credit the way that he does. So those are some of the things that I'm learning along the way as well.
I only have one more hockey question, and this is something that, as a radio guy, that we have the luxury of doing. We're kind of like fans that we can project based on historical achievements and whatnot. And you guys probably don't do as much thinking, but I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because I forgot to ask Tails this question when we had Justin on the show. The career you had in Kalamazoo, obviously the records that you set, team records, passing one of the all-time greats in George Gagnon, who's one of the only players to have their jersey number retired by the team. You had to have given it a little bit of thought someday down the road to see number 49 up there at Wings Event Center, and for Tails, seeing it right next to your jersey number 93. Have you given that any thought with what you achieved when you played here?
I guess maybe a little bit now that I've been done playing. When you're in it, you don't think about it at all. But really, when I do think about it, it's just how fortunate that I was to be in one place for such a long time is one thing, and a place that I loved and still have the opportunity to live in and raise a family in a great community. And yeah, the other thing too is when I do think about it, and you mentioned Tails, is like the current K-Wing greats that I was able to play with or coach now. And, from a Nick Bootlin or Justin Taylor with all his records. I mean, Eric Catalyst has been here going on almost 10 years, I think, and Ben Wilson going on 7 or 8 years. And Corey Carlander, I got to play with, Tyler Will, all these guys that, man, a lot of guys that could be in the rafters. And really the coolest thing is just being able to say that you played with all these great K-Wings along the way. And we're living in that time right now, currently, with these guys that have been with the team for so long. That's the coolest thing about it. Sure. And it just feel fortunate.
Oh, I forgot to ask you about Winterfest. We're going back next year to Toledo, and you played in the very first outdoor game in ECHL history and won it. Favorite memory from that whole experience?
Yeah, it was awesome, and I'm really excited to do that again. I'm gonna have to hit my buddy Richie up. He had some hunting boots with the little heaters in the soles. He had a little remote you could turn the heat on. So knowing how cold I get and my feet get, he lent me those, and they fit perfect in my skates. And I gave the controller to their equipment manager, Brent Overcamp at the time, and he was in charge of keeping my feet warm. But so yeah, a bunch of family was able to come out to that, or the wife's family actually, because they're over in Brighton. So they came, and some of her cousins and stuff, and so that was awesome. Have them there, and now hopefully this year my boys, I guess they're old enough. So I think Tommy was still in the belly, and Louie was just a baby. So yeah, I'm excited to hopefully have them down and be able to come experience it with me this time. That'll be awesome.
That might be the game to unveil your new warm trench coat or whatever you got to wear on the bench. That might be the time to debut it.
Yeah, that and a toque and some mittens and those heated soles, and yeah, long johns. Do it all, man.
This is what I'm looking forward to. Once we get back to normal again, I'm looking forward to more funny videos of movie impressions with you and Mitch. We might have to make it a show. I'm looking forward to some Tom and Chi during one of our 8 to 10 trips to Cincinnati next year, or some sushi to Indy, and for a great season coming up here in a few months, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been too long, and yeah, I can't wait. We're excited as well as a staff, and just starting to recruit players and talking to different guys that gets you fired up as well. Sometimes when you hear the excitement in guys' voices, and man, makes you miss it and makes you excited to get it back. And I'm sure we'll have a new appreciation as well when we are back doing what we love to do.
In the meantime, say hi to Carrie and the boys, and keep being a good listener.
You as well, JP. Appreciate you having me on. Thanks a lot.